I'm delighted that we have with us today, live from the west coast of the USA, the principal of Tantallon Capital Advisors and Chief Investment Officer of Tantallon India Fund and Tantallon Asia Impact Fund, Mr. Prem Manjooran.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm really glad to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
When you started investing in Malaysia, Malaysia was the darling of the emerging markets, right? I mean, everyone was rushing into Malaysia. Stock market was up. I think at one point, turnover on Bursa, rival turnover on the Western exchange. And then you saw, Malaysia kind of not be such a darling of emerging markets. I mean, do you have any lessons for us?
My most favorite memories of Malaysia actually were anchored in the crisis of 97, 98 and capital controls. I had left a message for my colleagues reflecting on capital controls, and I must have sounded pretty down and depressed because basically Malaysia was uninvestable for a period of time. And I must have gotten back 50 voicemail messages that day from colleagues in different parts of the world because the message was the same. This is your chance to get to know Malaysia better than anybody else because for a period of time, no one will care.
You continued investing in Malaysia anyway, right? That was still part of
my remit, yes.
Until when you left capital. But did your feelings about Malaysia change over that time in terms of whether you be overweight or underweight Malaysia?
One of the first lessons I learned in Malaysia was to invest in companies where politicians simply had no interest. And over the next 20 years, politics became so much more important. With that transition, you lost the ability to invest purely in business fundamentals because you then had to make risk assessments on political risk. Right. And those are almost impossible to get right consistent. So yes, coming through the last 20, 25 years, my feelings did change because it became much more focused on trying to assess political risk as opposed to focusing on individual companies, which is where my passion sat. And so you became less committed to the market because there was so many unfathomables that you had to assess and get a grip of.
How seriously do you take ESG?
You need to be clear that you're not just focusing on companies that don't do ill. You really want to make sure that you're trying to avoid companies that extract rents in socially destructive ways, who look to maximize short-term returns at the expense of the environment or by putting customers at risk, or by exploiting their employees or minority investors in any way. So it becomes a package for you to focus on that in addition to holding these ESG principles dear, you need to be clear in terms of why you choose to identify and avoid investing in another subset of companies. And both parts, I think, feed together into an investment process that will be impactful over the next couple of decades.
If you're starting fresh now and trying to invest in Malaysia, would you invest in palm oil?
I would invest in a couple of companies that have long valued the environment and have demonstrated being good stewards. There are several others who have been less responsible, and we all know who they are, and you would truly avoid them.
Prem, listen, thank you so much.
Thank you again. Thank you very, very much, and very, very privileged. Thank you.